let's talk about gym intimidation. How do you overcome fear for going into the gym in a few short steps? First and foremost, what is gym intimidation? What is being intimidated? What is having fear for going to the gym? That is literally just a feeling that you feel viscerally, maybe with some tingles, maybe in your mind between your two ears, maybe in your heart rate, maybe in the way that your breathing is around going to the gym and working out. Now, why does this happen? There could be a couple reasons. Most commonly, and when I was first starting lifting, it was that I was curious about what people were going to say about me, or what people were going to think about what I was doing and how I was moving and how I was lifting and what have you. The second reason for me was like, okay, what if I fail on a rep and I look stupid, or I fail on a weight that I shouldn't at my body weight or at my strength, or because I'm a man or what have you. And so I want to take all of that and just kind of throw it out the window for a second, and let's go over potentially how we can get around this gym intimidation, because there's very few situations where you're going to look at anything to do with health and wellness. And let's take a few examples, like, hey, learning how to Olympic lift, learning how to bodybuild, learning how to walk more, learning how to meal prep, understanding calories, understanding protein goals, understanding different modalities and methodologies for exercise, understanding more physiology, also understanding anatomy. There's not going to be times where you're sitting on your deathbed, where you're sitting at the end of your life, or 20 or 40 years down the road, where you're going to be like, damn, I really wish that I had just not learned that stuff. It didn't help me in any way. And it's funny because a few years ago, I saw a video on Mind Pump, and I believe it was Jordan Syatt that was talking about this exact thing. And so credit where credit is due, because he initially planted the idea in my head that I've used with clients. But you're just not going to be in a position where you're regretting learning more and understanding more in a new scenario, right? In a new facilitation of some sort of new methodology or new modality. And I think that the gym is a place where it's very easy to become overwhelmed and overstimulated, because you've got everyone and their mother working out. You've got tons of people on juice but telling you that they're not it. You got tons of women in small amount of clothing, and you got a lot of men that are not wearing underwear. You got a lot of people staring at each other in the mirrors, and I want to kind of just walk it back to why all of this is happening, right? But the reason that it doesn't really matter that any of this is happening is because most people aren't paying attention to you. Most people, they don't give a shit. They don't give a shit what you're doing, because they're too enveloped in their own desire to see what they're doing, to see how they compare to everyone else on social media that's edited anyways, right? And so, to go back just a second, what Jordan Syatt was talking about was just that you wouldn't have regrets on your deathbed. You wouldn't be in a position where you're like, oh man, I wish I didn't learn all these things that helped me overall. And I think that that's true. And I think that the common answer that's not that is that nobody cares what you're doing. And the fact of the matter is, some people do care what you're doing, but I don't believe in any scenario that someone's view of you should be more than your own view of yourself. So I realistically think that when people have varying opinions of you, of your actions, of what you're doing, of how you're doing something, I think that the sum total of all of those should be less than how you view yourself. And I'm not everyone. You don't have to do that. But with the gym intimidation, right, a lot of it is just, it's fear, right? It's anxiety. It's, a misplaced expectation of outcome with an unknown of action, right? So we're looking at, hey, I don't know necessarily how to do, I don't know how to do pull-ups, right? I don't know how to deadlift, right? I don't know how to sprint properly, right? I don't know how to do kipping pull-ups, right? Or Bulgarians, or sled pushes. Like, at the end of the day, a lot of this, and this is just exercise specific, right? Obviously, there's other things like our clothing, right? Our body fat, our music, our our body noises, our crush, and the weight on the bar. That can also give us anxiety. So when we're talking about the clothing, some things might not fit you in the way that your favorite influencer has their clothes fit, but what you're not realizing that a lot of times they're not even having their clothes fit like that either, because they're in a position where they're just editing the shit out of everything. We could be talking about body fat, and that might be a factor of fitting, or a factor of just like, when you're doing a front squat heavier than shit, you're not gonna make a pretty face, and your stomach's probably not gonna look pretty, quote unquote, right? But that's not the point of it. That's the reason that you're front squatting is not to look pretty, right? It comes by very nature of what's happening, right? So we can put facial expressions on here, redness, right? Blushing, etc. Like at the end of the day, your clothing is not always going to be all done up in how it is on social media, right? Your body fat percentage, obviously, when you're fully compressed, when you have a belt on, when it's tight enough where you can still move it, but you can use it throughout your sets, you might have some body fat roll over. Not a big deal, right? At the end of the day, unless you judge yourself for it. Your music, right? Headphones might come out, you might be listening to something crazy. Maybe don't listen to something wild in the gym, like listening to porn or something. Probably not a great idea. But outside of that, who cares what music you're listening to? Everyone's unique in that, right? Blushing, right? You get a little flush or blush while you're working out. That's normal, right? Some people have rosacea, but outside of rosacea, some people just work hard and then they sweat and their face gets red. Like, really not a big deal, right? But we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to be these perfect little princesses and princes while we're working out, and it's not necessary, right? Body noises. I don't know about you, but I have absolutely caught a very heavy squat clean and farted. It happens, right? That's life, right? And sometimes my crush has been in the same room. And yes, is it somewhat embarrassing when you fail a lift, or when you make a weird noise, or you slip and fall, or you fart, or you burp, or what have you, when your crush is in and around the same place that you're at? Absolutely it is. But it's not the end of the world, right? It's absolutely not the end of the world, and it's something that will 100% improve your tolerance of not being perfect all the time, right? You got to go out there and fail a little bit, and that will happen, right? And also weight on the bar. Like, I mean, to be intimidated by the small amount of weight you have on the bar, or feel that you have to go to the ego lifting side and put all the weight on the bar to be able to rock and roll is just a little silly, because realistically, outside of that session, when you're moving, 45 pounds on bench, or 135 pounds on your back, and it's not the 3 to 5 plates that your neighbor's doing, someone might notice there and might have some things to say about it there. But like, look, most people, right? Most people are goldfish, right? Because they're worried about themselves so much, their memory is goldfish. Their memory is that of a goldfish, because they just don't care, right? And I'm not saying that you shouldn't care about people's progress and you shouldn't care about them getting better, but I also can tell you right now that, like, they're not looking at you. And also, even if everyone is looking at you, you need to go into the gym with the expectation that your clothing is not going to be perfect, that your body fat might roll over in some places unless you're stage ready, right? That sometimes your music is going to go out, or your headphones are going to die, or the music in the gym is not the most fun. Sometimes you're going to get red from moving heavy weight, holding your breath. Maybe you see a cute girl and you farted. It happens, dude. Body noise is the same thing, right? You're going to grunt, you're going to squeal, you're going to cry. Like, things happen, right? You're moving your body. Things happen. Your crush might be in there, but it's not that. I don't want you to look at necessarily any of this and say it doesn't matter because no one's going to remember. They probably won't. But the bigger issue here is that you're judging yourself, right, for all of these things. And at the end of the day, that's not really beneficial for you to move forward on your journey with health and wellness. Like, you're gonna make weird facial expressions. You're gonna have days where you don't lift as much as you do other days, even though you have the overall strength to do that. Like, that shit's going to happen. None of these things are gonna be perfect always. So even if there are people that are in here that are not goldfish, right? That are out here watching your every move and making fun of you for any of the exercise specific things that you're doing or any one of these other things, that's okay. Because at the end of the day, you're not going to be on your deathbed, just like Jordan Syatt has said, and worry about going through these things. In fact, the thing that's probably going to happen is if you avoid all of this because you're afraid of what other people think, or you're afraid to get started, you might be in a position where you have a less quality of life towards the end of your life, or even right now, because you were never willing to not be perfect. And not being perfect is the only way to improve in something. The only way to improve in general is to not be perfect, to drop perfection, to be willing to move forward despite imperfection. If you're willing to do that, you can go far. If you're unwilling to do that, this becomes very difficult. Improvements in health become very difficult because then it's never the right time. It's never, good enough, or I don't have the right the right gym fit, or the right shoes, or the right clothes that don't have my fat hangover. Like, look, at the end of the day, we have all been there in some form or fashion where we feel insecure about how we are in the gym. Okay, everyone is there. Even your most ripped influencers in the world, they've been there, or they are there. A lot of them stay there. So you're not unique in that. And the faster that you can understand that you're not unique in feeling insecurities in different formats in the gym, the faster you can improve in the gym, right? The faster you can understand that you're not perfect and you're also not unique in that imperfection, that it happens to everybody, insecurity happens, the faster you can move forward and not be intimidated on the gym. Because at the end of the day, what you need to do is, even if you are intimidated, even if you are anxious, even if you are worried about what's going to happen, you need to do it anyways, just like having courage and fear. Because if you do that, you will look back and you will thank yourself down the road. Hope that helps. It'll be easy.